President Trump returned to the halls of Congress with the longest joint address in history. We'll break down the highlights with Kari Lake in moments. Meanwhile, Zelensky's Oval Office tantrum ended with a peace note to Trump. But now he's backsliding. My panel of experts will discuss, and is China gearing up for war? OAN's Pearson Sharp has exclusive reporting on his own contact with the Chinese embassy, plus the Serbian parliament turned into a literal smoke show, bombs, chaos, and members physically harmed. All next on the Matt Gaetz Show. Let's do this. We're shaking up Washington, D.C. We're breaking the fever.
You ever watch this guy on television? It's like a machine. He's great. Matt Gaetz.
Last evening, President Trump delivered a 1-hour, 40-minute speech to Congress. It was a stem winder, the longest such speech in history. The always loquacious Bill Clinton delivered a year 2000 State of the Union, which lasted an hour and 28 minutes. President Trump's earlier addresses averaged around an hour and 20 minutes. These remarks from the 47th president were not just robust in duration, but indeed substance, surprise, and flair. An overwhelming 74% of Americans who watched the historic speech absolutely loved it, calling it entertaining, inspiring, and unifying. Those are all things that I would certainly ascribe to President Trump. Politico's headline captured the moment. Trump celebrates disruption and defies backlash. President Trump positioned himself as the leader of a common sense revolution.
Common sense revolution that is now, because of us, sweeping the entire world. Common sense has become a common theme. And we will never go back. Never going to let that happen.
Trump's not going back. His common sense articulation of economic growth, reduced waste, and global peace was juxtaposed to Democrats who acted like children. They held signs, had outbursts, and even had planned little stormouts, little walkouts. How original. Congressman Jerry Connolly, he didn't attend the speech because he argued that solidarity with Ukraine demanded his boycott. It seems odd to us that a U.S. congressman would have to abandon a speech by a U.S. president in solidarity with a corrupt country in Europe. We're wondering if Congressman Connolly's constituents feel the same way. The architect of the Hope and Change Obama political movement, David Axelrod, was rather critical of Democrats who acted a fool.
Would it have been healing to stand for Mark Fogel? Might have been.
No, I agree. You know, you are absolutely right.
DJ Johnson.
What I will do what you will not. I will say, I think there were times when they should have risen. I think what Al Green did was despicable.
Trump's speech was policy-focused. The president gave extensive remarks about his tariffs plan. He acknowledged that there may be some pain initially, but America has to be more productive, more resilient, and less dependent on other nations.
If you don't make your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one. Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. Other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in, and whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them. If they do non-monetary tariffs to keep us out of their market, then we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market.
April 2nd seems like an excellent day to announce tariffs. It leaves room for a really outstanding series of April Fool's jokes. But tariffs might not be the only change in our relations with America's near abroad. President Trump reiterated his plans regarding the Panama Canal and Greenland.
To further enhance our national security, my administration will be reclaiming the Panama Canal, and we've already started doing it. The Panama Canal was built by Americans for Americans, not for others, but others could use it. But it was built at tremendous cost of American blood and treasure. 38,000 workers died building the Panama Canal. It was given away by the Carter administration for $1, but that agreement has been violated very severely. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back. And we have Marco Rubio in charge. Good luck, Marco. Now, we know who to blame if anything goes wrong. And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security. And I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
Trump really knows how to roll out the red carpet when he wants to invite another country to be part of the United States of America, and a reinvigorated Monroe Doctrine seems afoot, with stricter border policy to boot. President Trump defended budget cuts to the Pentagon, and he seems to have taken pleasure in detailing some of the horrible waste already eliminated by DOGE.
Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified. $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $8 million for making mice transgender. This is real. $10 million for male circumcision in Mozambique. $20 million for the Arab Sesame Street in the Middle East. It's a program. $20 million for a program. $1.9 billion to recently created Decarbonization of Homes Committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her? $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well with learning. I don't know what we're doing. Should use it ourselves. Under the Trump administration, all of these scams, and they're far worse, but I didn't think it was appropriate to talk about them. They're so bad. Many more have been found out and exposed and swiftly terminated by a group of very intelligent, mostly young people, headed up by Elon, and we appreciate it. We found hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud.
$8 million to make mice transgendered? This breaking news: the transgendered mice in the New York subway have just been overtaken by the cisgender rats. There was no fear on President Trump's part wading into the culture wars. President Trump reiterated his policy achievements and announcements. There was a real antagonism in President Trump's remarks toward these terrible gender reorientation surgeries that we see for minors. And President Trump talked about his efforts to ban men from playing in girls' sports. In our own OAN coverage, I predicted that Trump would razz his predecessors, Biden and Obama, and on this he did not disappoint.
And under Joe Biden, the worst president in American history, there were hundreds of thousands of illegal crossings a month, and virtually all of them, including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and people from mental institutions and insane asylums, were released into our country. Who would want to do that? Countless thousands of these terrorists were welcomed into the U.S. by the Biden administration. The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation, we must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president. We inherited from the last administration an economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare. We ended all of Biden's environmental restrictions that were making our country far less safe and totally unaffordable. Joe Biden especially let the price of eggs get out of control. The egg price is out of control. Secretary, do a good job on that. You inherited a total mess from the previous administration. And we've ended weaponized government where, as an example, a sitting president is allowed to viciously prosecute his political opponent, like me. How did that work out? Not too good. Not too good.
President Trump successfully delivered his Golden Age of America speech. He's a man in total control of the Republican Party, the ruling party, the party that has control of the Senate and the House, that has been on the march in governor races and state legislative races, and President Trump is delivering on promises and letting us all know about it. Joining me now is President Trump's nominee to lead the highly influential Voice of America entity of the federal government, the indomitable Kari Lake. Kari, you are a communications expert. We got soaring oratory from President Trump and even a few digs last night. What'd you think of the speech?
It was it exceeded all of my expectations. I would give him an A+++ on that speech. He did an incredible job talking to the American people, the people who really needed to talk to, the American people who have watched in his 1 month in office, 1 month on the job, as things have just gotten better. We've become a safer world. Our economy is picking up. And when it comes to communication, from what I saw, sadly, from the Democrats, I think they got an F. It was unfortunate that they chose to do that. Look, I understand we don't agree politically on everything, but when you cannot cheer for a young man who survived brain cancer, getting an honorary, space and place in this, to be President Trump's, in his administration, basically, and you cannot cheer for some of the great policies that would actually help, like not taxing tips, you got a problem. You need to really check your politics at the door and think about the American people, because these are policies that will help all Americans, Democrats, especially Democrats. A lot of Democrats that I know do work where they are living off tips, and tips are a big part of their income. I would think that you would care to help your Democrat constituents as well.
So President Trump seemed to reject the vision of America that is tied to international decision-making. Take a listen to this clip and we'll get your reaction on the other side.
I withdrew from the corrupt World Health Organization. And I also withdrew from the anti-American UN Human Rights Council.
So, Kari, what message is the president sending to the world?
He's sending to the world that we're no longer pushing the globalist agenda. We are the United States of America, America first, the message he's always been sending. And these organizations depend mainly on American taxpayers funding them. And I'm not sure what we get in return. And so President Trump is looking very closely at how we're spending our money. We know that the federal government spends beyond their means, and that's putting it mildly. And he's actually going to take a responsible approach to cutting back the bloat in the government. And we've already seen that. And the Democrats are appalled by not being able to spend money like there's no tomorrow anymore. This is why we had the out of control inflation that hurt so much the people in this country. And President Trump's going to get it under control. He's working very hard. He's got DOJ working on it. Some of the hardest working people I know in the federal government right now are the DOJ people.
They're crushing it, and they're quite popular as well. And President Trump's remarks were received favorably by 74% of the country. That's a pretty big win. From a communication standpoint, how do you continue to approach the border? Because we had so much success there so quickly with 94% reduction in encounters. You don't want people to forget that there's an ongoing deportation effort for criminals. There's an ongoing border security effort. President Trump seemed to do that by bringing the family members in of some of those who had been slain at the hands of illegal aliens. What would be your advice on how to keep this issue at the forefront of our politics and our psyche as we're achieving these just exceptional successes?
Well, one thing you said last night was you didn't need a big piece of legislation. You just needed a new president. I mean, that 1,000+ page piece of legislation, which was actually going to codify the terrible policies of Joe Biden that caused the wide open border, caused the fentanyl crisis. And President Trump made a really easy point, which is change presidents get somebody who cares about securing the border, and look what happens in a very short period of time. The border is secure. Now we have to do the cleanup work, and I know that President Trump is dedicated to doing that. We're going to be removing the people who are dangerous. I think he needs to keep that in his communications tool belt, reminding the American people we're still removing people who are here illegally, people who are taking taxpayer funded, various, whether it be living arrangements, whether it be welfare. We're going to get rid of all of that. And so he needs to remind people that the work is not done on the border, but Tom Homan and Kristi Noem are working hard to make sure that we're getting dangerous people out of the country, deporting them back to their homeland. And then we're going to tackle the cartels. That's a big, huge part of this. And I believe President Trump can help Mexico finally get the cartel problem under control.
That would be something. And we have not had a willing partner from Mexico for quite some time, and so it will likely require leverage. This is a different dynamic in Congress in 2025 than what we encountered in 2017. Back in 2017, you had major leadership voices in the Congress speaking out against Trump, echoing the media's criticisms. But now this is a leader who is fully in charge of the Republican Party, and the Republican Party is in charge of Washington. Do you think President Trump is going to have any substantial resistance from the Republicans in the Congress as he works to get this large piece of legislation passed in the coming weeks?
I think it would be the stupidest thing they could do, and they will be primaried, and the American people will vote them out of office. If the Republicans don't get behind President Trump with a winning policy, like securing the border, cutting the government waste, creating transparency so that people can see where their taxpayer money is going, and different policy items that he's pushing, including the tax cuts, including rebuilding the manufacturing sector, and so many more items that he laid out last night and has laid out in the past months. I think it's just a political death sentence, and they're making a huge mistake. But I think beyond that, we need to watch and ask Democrats to get on board, ask them to remember who their constituents are, hardworking people from coast to coast and all across this country who need a break, and President Trump is truly working for them. Remember, he's not running for office anymore. He's not a politician anymore. He is the leader of the free world. He's the leader of this great country. And it is his goal in life to make sure that we bring back our country, restore our government, give it back to we the people, take it away from the bureaucrats who have just been growing and growing and growing. When they say it's a threat to democracy, they really mean it's a threat to bureaucracy. And it seems like the only people the Democrats care about are the bureaucrats.
Sure. So, Kari, final question for you. We're so excited about your leadership that is upcoming at Voice of America. Any timeline on your confirmation process that you've heard from the Senate?
Well, I'm in the agency right now. I got sworn in on Monday into the agency as a senior advisor from the administration in the agency. So I'm working right now on fact finding and finding out where the issues are, where any excess money is being spent, and trying to streamline and modernize this and see what we can do to pull some things out of it that are working and remove anything that's not working. So I'm officially in the agency right now. It's the United States Agency of Global Media, and I'm helping to modernize it and get things going in the right direction, because there are many problems that we're seeing right now. We're working to make sure that, number one, that the policies that have been put forth in executive orders by the president are actually being followed in this agency. And so that's what I'm working on right now.
Godspeed in that mission. Kari Lake, thanks so much for joining the program.
Thank you.